Let's go to something pretty basic here. U.S. senators and U.S. Congress people, I used to be one of them. I have a lot of staff people. They do a lot of work for them. Yeah. They can do executive summaries. They can make it easy. They give them a little reading list to take home at night. They do have some free time to read. And they're legislating on issues of environment. Why do they keep saying in your party, I don't know? How can you keep saying I don't know? What's this about? Protecting the Koch brothers oil industry? Oil and gas?
But the question is,
why is the Republican Party the party of oil and gas?
I don't know why. Maybe because I don't understand.
By the way, why is a congressman from Gettysburg so interested in offshore oil development in the Gulf?
Because
that's all these Southern guys want. Why do you want it?
I'm tired of being tied to foreign and Middle East
oil. Okay, so you're into
all
the oil business. You're into the oil business situation here.
I'm into what's good for America.
Yeah, okay,
that's what
so
I'm into.
What does that got to do with paying our debts? These are demands by the oil state Congress people. They insist they want the money before they go along with paying America's debts. And you're going along with that for Gettysburg? Why are you doing this?
Because it's the right thing for America. It's because the American citizens are demanding it. That's why.
Well, I looked at that list of 10 things.
Maybe
it looks like it's written by the oil industry, and I'm surprised that you're involved with such a caper.
I'm surprised that you read any of it, first of all, but maybe you didn't realize the American people voted for a Republican Congress.
Wait a minute. What'd you just say? You're surprised I read it.
I'm surprised you read it. Yes, absolutely.
I'm surprised you read it. So I know when
you know that most Democrats, as a matter of fact, I'm surprised that any Democrats read the bill.
You know
Nancy
what you can
Pelosi said you got to pass it before you can find out what's in it.
You can be excused because you just accused me of not doing my job, and that's a big mistake here. Congressman, thank you for coming on. I mean it. I wish you had made that last remark. I think it was a cheap shot. Scott Perry, it was cheap. Don't laugh. It wasn't cheap. It was really cheap.
Well, you've made some cheap shots at me.
No, I didn't. I was fair. You're in bed with the oil industry. Anyway, thank you. This is hardball.
I'm in bed with the oil industry again.
I'm looking at your votes. Yes, and then you went on to say there are a lot of people with the skills to create a fake document such as a birth certificate. What did you mean by that?
Sure. Photoshop. There are people out there who can create all kinds of things like that.
Do you believe that this could have been faked, that this was Photoshopped? It didn't have,
no.
Well, why'd you say it again? Why are you playing to this point of view?
Because I was addressing an issue that was brought up.
Why are you pandering to paranoia?
I'm not pandering. Some people brought it up.
Yes, you are. You won't say, no, you were saying it could be true. Why are you're laughing? That's a phony laugh, sir. Why do you keep pandering to paranoia, sir? You're part of the problem in this country. Why do you keep doing this?
Me on your show 2 years ago when a Hillary advisor started using the word cocaine very deliberately to get us to talk about cocaine.
You're chuckling, David. You think this is funny, David? You think it's funny to de-Americanize somebody? This is what they did to Dukakis years ago. You take an American whose parents are... You want to see the Democrats do this to Arnold Schwarzenegger and talking about being an Austrian and what maybe somebody in his family might have done once? You want to go after the Indian Americans who've done so well in American politics, Nikki Haley and the governor of Louisiana? Are we going to go into this kind of tribal politics? It's not funny, David.
No.
Well, I don't know what to make of that, Sal. That's balloon head. That's not what our history was founded on. We founded on a Constitution which includes treating slaves as three-fifths of a person. It went on all the way to the Civil War. We had compromise after compromise trying to avoid a war. We went to war and lost 600,000 people in the worst catastrophe in our history because slavery continued through the 1860s and only ended because of that war. And here's this woman you've made your spokesperson saying that somehow the founding fathers dealt with it. That's the one thing they did not deal with. That was the horrible compromise that was at the heart of our Constitution. Why do you put someone like this forward who is a balloon head, who knows no American history? It's a ridiculous decision you guys have made. Do you know how little this woman knows about our history?
I think Michelle Bachmann is been one of the best.
Did you just hear that stuff? Did you just hear her? Do you want me to play it again? We could rub it in, Sal. It's horrendous. What do you make of it?
I heard what she said, but
what's she talking about?
I think what she's talking about is that we cannot continue to spend money as recklessly as we have done.
That's not what she just said. She said the founding fathers got rid of slavery. Why would you say that? Every high school kid has been to Mount Vernon and seen the slave quarters. What are you talking? Jefferson had slaves. All those guys had slaves. I know they were great men in other regards, but they never got rid of slavery. It's right in the Constitution. And here's this woman waving the Constitution around, powing around with Scalia, and she doesn't even know what the Constitution had in it. The treatment of slaves, African Americans, as three-fifths of people. That's in our history. You can't take it out. Explain to me what this woman's talking about.
I think she's just using that as an illustration to point out that I think Americans are concerned today that their children and grandchildren are not going to have the same opportunities of the American dream because we've increased our debt to a dangerous extent.
That's how she talks. She goes on this tape. No matter what you ask her, she goes on a tape. I want to ask you about slavery, sir. Sal, you know when slavery ended. It ended with the Civil War, right?
Well, some kind of slavery ended with the Civil War.
What do you mean, some kind of slavery ended with? Why are you hedging?
No, I'm not hedging on it. I'm saying that
when did slavery end in America? When did it become illegal? When did the 13th Amendment get passed? Okay, you're just covering. You're covering. You made a terrible decision. You put a person out there that has no concept of American history. I'm reminded of what Steve Schmidt said about Sarah Palin. She doesn't know anything. This is worse. This is claiming something that never happened. We have a problem. Slavery and race are the San Andreas fault of American history, and you're denying it was there.
No, I think she's trying to illustrate a point.
Joan, you take over this witness. I find him hopeless. I know he knows better. He's covering for somebody who knows nothing.
I
think you got to find another horse, Sal.
That's
You're a smart guy.
Just get another horse.
This one's terrible. Anyway, thank you, Joan Walsh. Thank you, Sal. I know you're 10 times smarter than this person you put up there. Anyway, up next, the president will talk tonight.
We'll continue
I think you're caught up in this, Mika. I think you've been caught up in this pussyfooting here. That's the problem here.
Okay, thank you, Chris. We're gonna come back and we'll.
No, actually, I want to know what he means by that.
Chris, yeah.
It's just that I think fighting a war that wasn't necessary is not the same as denying people health care when they go to work. I think we got to provide people health care. We don't have to go to these wars.
I take issue with caught up. I'm not sure what you're saying with that, but I'll tell you this. There's nothing wrong as a member of the media to ask questions about.
We have to ask the questions, but we have to make a value judgment as well.
We have to ask the questions.
And we are asking the questions.
I want
My question is, are we going to get it done or are we going to pussyfoot?
Okay, we'll leave it on your question, and we'll be right back with New York Magazine's John Heilman.
I just want to go back to where you distorted a sentence. You said he said the United States was an accessory. It's policies. You're changing your words, by the way, over the days here to what happened on 9/11. Here's what he said in the sentence that you keep corrupting. Quote.
People know we're still in Germany and in South Korea.
No. I won't let you get away with that. That is not a fair comparison. We do not have a war in South Korea. There's no German that's fired on an American since 1945. That's not a fair comparison. So
well, it still is going to take time.
It's not a fair comparison.
It still takes time, Chris. I think
No, it's not. I don't know why you. Let me say, I keep Chris, that is not an acceptable argument. You cannot compare our peaceful occupation of Germany since 1945, our peaceful occupation of South Korea, with the situation in Iraq. It's much more, Congressman, as if the Korean War had continued all these years.
But what I'm saying is, if you leave.
You stepped into a dishonest comparison, Congressman.
Okay,
that's
Chris.
The problem.
Okay, let me accept that and move on. The point is, if you leave, and saying that you can leave in 9 months is going to leave this country in worse condition. It will devolve
but that
into
is an
a
argument,
civil war.
and most Americans are worried about your being right. Let's move on to the realities, though. I'm sorry to get involved in this fight, but some people come on this show over and over again saying things that just aren't true objectively. Thank you, Congressman.
It doesn't matter.
Do you have any doubts?
I have doubts or not. It doesn't matter.
You want to answer the simple question? See, that feeds this.
I agree with what...
No. You are feeding the wacko wing of your party. Do you believe that Barack Obama is a legitimate native-born American or not?
That is not what this bill is about, Chris.
No, what do you believe?
As far as I know, yes.
Get a copy of it if you had any interest in finding it. Because before you signed on to this bill, I would have recommended to you, if I were one of your staffers, find out if Barack Obama has a birth certificate that shows he's born in this country before we proceed in this wacky direction, because this will send a signal to... This is very complicated stuff, and it's very subtle, and there's certainly room for argument on both sides. But how the hell you compare this to giving away half of a country? How you compare it when the Tory party of Great Britain fighting the Labour Party, which opposed that deal, and now you flip it around and somehow you say that this time the Tories are the good guys, the Conservatives are the good guys. I don't even think you understand that history, Ryan. I hope all the people who make these Hitler comparisons, which are never apt, we should just stop doing that. These Hitler comparisons, 5 years from now, 6 years from now, when this deal holds, we'll come back and say, I said a lousy thing back in 2015. I compared this president to giving away Europe to Hitler. I will totally totally regret that the rest of my life. Like you guys ought to be embarrassed about the Iraq War and never apologize for that. You're wrong, over and over again, and you never get ashamed of it, and you keep making the most outrageous things. Comparing this president to being in bed with Hitler is disgusting. So you started this conversation. You called the president of the United States a liar. Then you said he's my president, not yours.
I said he's lied,
Okay,
Chris.
well,
our president has lied.
Okay, your pal
Yes.
Joe Wilson says he's a liar. You say he's lying. You're all in this same game. I think it's bad
We're
behavior.
all in the same game. You know, you were a lot before you got so caught up in this president.
You've got to improve your language a little bit, sir. We'll be better off. But please come back on the show.
You need to be more objective, but I love it, Chris. Thank you.
Thanks for coming on. So some history here.
This is pathetic. Kevin, please.
This is pathetic.
Kevin, you should probably be quiet.
What Chamberlain did in Munich.
Kevin, when you're in a hole, stop digging. Chris, the reason that you exposed him...
he's as bad as the White House press secretary that doesn't even know what the Cuban Missile Crisis was. We're talking with people with blank slates in terms of history here.
President Bush...
Kevin, when you're going to make a direct historic reference, get it straight. Thank you, Kevin James.
I didn't make a direct historic reference.
You were trying to defend something you don't know what you're talking about. Up next, what's Jay Leno got? It's not true. You don't understand what appeasement is. Don't use the word. It's giving away. Congresswoman Bachmann, are you hypnotized tonight? Has someone hypnotized you? Because no matter what I ask you, you give the same answer. Are you hypnotized? Has someone put you under a trance tonight? Did you give me the same answer no matter what question I put to you? Obama, they try something and fails because you guys are good at playing negative politics. You're really good at destroying Democrats' chances to reform. But when you get in power, when you have George W. Bush in there in both houses of Congress, or you got Reagan in there with complete ideological control, you don't do anything on health care. Your leadership takes so much money from the insurance companies that, like the status quo, they make a bundle. Guys like John Boehner, the golfer, and Mitch McConnell, who reminds me of George Will exponentially ideologically, those guys don't say what you're just saying. They're not going to do anything on health care. So when you talk about Ryan and you talk about DeMint and these ideas they proposed, the leadership of the Republican Party doesn't do anything on health care. Year after year after year, they've had the ball. With Reagan, with George W. Bush, with George Bush Sr., they had the ball, and you guys never do anything. And then when Barack Obama tries to do something with the ball, all of a sudden you guys come alive, you disrupt meetings, you're brilliant at it, you are so good at playing defense, but you don't have an offense.
Bill Clinton wanted to do and didn't get the opportunity to do. So, who knows? Who knows? I don't know. I can't tell you what would have been if a different president were there.
Absolute BS, Senator. Absolute BS. You cannot say that President Clinton had the authorization to go to war with Iraq. You can't say he just didn't have an opportunity to go. No one told him to go until Bush got the authority from Congress, including you in 2002. What is Giuliani getting applause for on a complete nonsense like that? This is the Iraq Liberation Army. It was something cooked up by the INC, the Iraqi National Congress, with McCain and Lieberman pushing it. It had nothing to do with an American war in Iraq. Nothing to do with it. Are you a metaphor for a guy running for office, or you're a real candidate? If you're a metaphor, I understand what you're talking about. But you're not talking about, we have a government that doesn't represent us. We have a government that's a tyranny. We have a progressive income tax. You want to place with a sales tax, and you won't even deny the right of states to continue having their own sales taxes, which add up to 31% sales tax. And I don't think anybody's going to vote for a 31% sales tax, sir. Or a 23% sales tax.
Well, again, Chris, that's your ignorance with what I'm saying, because, again, it's not an addition.
Okay,
it's a
repeat it so I won't be ignorant. Repeat it, sir. Anybody who wants to look at this tape can catch it. 23%, you said. And I'm saying people are now paying 8% in many states and localities. That adds up to 31, and you don't like the arithmetic, but that's a fact. To call you on this, Mr. Chairman. Yes. You've been suggesting that somehow Obama's been running a negative campaign, and your guy's been running a positive campaign. That's not accurate. In fact, if they both stopped all the negative, I'm not sure who would win, but they've both been negative. That cheap shot about I don't have a problem with my birth certificate was awful. It is an embarrassment to your party to play that card. This stuff about getting rid of the work requirement for welfare is dishonest. Everyone's pointed out it's dishonest, and you are playing that little ethnic card there. You can play your games and giggle about it, but the fact is your side is playing that card.
Okay, well,
when you start talking about work requirements, you know what game you're playing. And everybody knows what game you're playing. It's a race card. And this thing about a birth, yeah, if your name's Romney, yeah, you were well born, you went to prep school, yeah, brag about it. And this guy has an African name and he's got to live with it. Look who's going further in their life. Just a minute. Who was born on third base?
Wait.
Okay, this absurdity. Making fun of the guy's birth certificate issue when it was never a real issue.
Stimulus packages are concerned, he's looking to Europe for guidance.
What?
I mean, that's the problem.
We've got a government. This is insane. You mean the Keynesian fiscal policy is somehow
so far out of control?
You mean the fact that every president we've had has tried to offset the economic cycle with stimulus going the other direction?
Look at the
somehow
spending.
European.
He said he'd get the debt under control. Where are we
what's
at?
this got to do with Europe and this foreignization of the guy? You're doing it again now.
So you don't think Obamacare?
He's influenced by foreign influences.
Okay. So you don't think
you're playing that card
taking
again?
over health care?
What's this European thing of yours?
Okay.
What do you think?
Let's just work on tone. Go ahead, Reince.
What are you up to with this constant?
Chris, let him answer the question.
I have to ask you one last question. I know you don't like this question, but I think it's appropriate given you are a major, as you've just demonstrated, a strong surrogate and defender of the candidacy for president of Donald Trump. A couple of his people, including his vice presidential running mate, Mike Pence, the governor of Indiana, and, of course, Dr. Ben Carson, have both come out in the last days, hours practically, and said they believe that President Obama is a legitimately elected president of the United States. In other words, he was born in the United States. Do you confirm that? Do you agree with that?
I confirm that, and Donald Trump now confirms that. You know, Hillary Clinton
When did he do
campaign,
that? When did he do that?
He did that
when did he do that?
2 years ago. 3 years ago.
When did he has now accepted that birtherism was nonsense.
Look, Hillary Clinton's campaign, Chris, Hillary Clinton's campaign.
He did not do that yet. I am waiting for him to do it.
Hillary Clinton's campaign was the first one to bring up the fact that there was a question.
Where did they do that? Where did they do that?
Donald Trump has said that.
Give me the example when they did that. You just said that Hillary Clinton accused the president. Has Hillary Clinton ever accused the president of being foreign-born?
Her campaign did during the primary.
Her campaign, Hillary for president campaign did this.
Yes, okay.
No,
well,
it did. There's no evidence that Hillary campaign.
I was always responsible for
I want to know whether
you
believe that your candidate for president believes he would succeed a legitimate president or not. Does he believe he would succeed a legitimate president?
Donald Trump believes now that he was born in the United States. But that issue was raised originally. That issue was raised originally.
When is he going to say that this president is legitimate? This is a fundamental question, Mr. Mayor. Is the president of the United States legitimate or not? Do you believe it? If you believe it, why doesn't your candidate state it?
I believe it. He believes it. We all believe it. But it took a long time to get it out.
Are you speaking for him now?
First one,
are you speaking for Donald Trump tonight on live television? Are you saying for him? I'm saying he's about to buckle and say finally that Barack Obama is legitimate president of the United States.
He is the one who got him to finally produce the birth certificate. Hillary Clinton's campaign first raised this issue. And he picked this up from Hillary Clinton.
He has subsequently said he does not accept that as the final word.
Can
you commit to your candidate saying within the next 24 hours that President Obama is a legitimate president? Can you commit for him that he will say that?
Just go back and look. He has said it already. And the fact is...
No, he hasn't.
That is an issue that was originally
You're wrong on the fact here,
Mr.
Mayor.
Well, every once in a while I am, but I think he did. And the fact is, I believe
you're wrong.
He was legitimately...
Okay, well, you want it both ways. You want to be seen as compassionate, but not do anything.
Let us buy insurance over state lines.
Okay, you've had Reagan in charge. You've had George Bush first in charge. You had 2 terms of George Bush Jr. And no time in that have I had somebody come on this show or anywhere else saying, we have to get a Republican health care plan to help uninsured people get insured. You guys are frauds.
We were as disappointed as you are.
Where was the we?
We're pushing them to do
this. Guy's the only guy since Truman with a chance to get a health care plan, and you guys are trying to kill it.
We think he's going in the wrong direction.
You're trying to kill the only plan on the table.